Caitlin Clark's rise wasn't subtle. Tripled ratings, sold-out arenas in new cities, and a fan-base explosion that should have launched the WNBA into a new era. But something strange happened. While Clark moved merch and packed stadiums, the league's official platforms barely mentioned her. No major features, no highlight reels, no star treatment. Behind the scenes, Sophie Cunningham had seen enough. On her
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
She called out a calculated suppression effort by veteran players in leadership positions. The message was clear: protect the old guard at all costs, even if it means sidelining the league's biggest asset. And in Cunningham's eyes, that silence wasn't accidental, it was strategic. The consequences are unraveling in real time. Refund requests surged. Sponsors hesitated. The hashtag #SaveOurSeason went viral as the league's most promising moment stalled under bureaucratic deadlock. With Project B and unrivaled pulling talent toward better pay and clearer visions, the WNBA's refusal to modernize its financial structure is becoming indefensible. Cunningham's words pierced through the noise because they named what others only hinted at: a broken model propped up by conflicted leaders unwilling to step aside. The question now isn't whether the league can grow, it's whether it can survive its own leadership. What's happening inside the WNBA right now isn't just messy, it's a full-blown institutional meltdown. And Sophie Cunningham? She has cracked it wide open. In a no-holds-barred episode of her podcast, Show Me Something, Cunningham didn't simply share her frustrations. She exposed what many suspected but few dared to say. The WNBA's leadership isn't just fumbling a historic moment. It's actively sabotaging it. This all exploded when the collective bargaining agreement expired on January 9th. Since then, the league has been in total shutdown mode. No trades, no signings, no coaching changes. The system is frozen, and not because of financial constraints or external pressure. No, it's internal. It's dysfunction rooted in contradictions, power hoarding, and a serious lack of accountability. And all of it happening during what should be the WNBA's breakthrough era. Thanks to rookie sensation Caitlin Clark. Clark has done the impossible. She tripled viewership, sold out arenas in cities that used to struggle with attendance, boosted merch sales by 236%, and brought in new demographics of fans. The league finally had its cultural moment. But instead of riding that wave, the WNBA hit pause. Why? Cunningham says it's not incompetence, it's intentional. And she pointed the finger directly at senior WNBPA leaders: Nneka Agwamike, Brianna Stewart, Nafisa Collier. She accused them of gatekeeping, marginalizing younger talent, and burying Clark's visibility in official media. But that's only the surface. Here's the real bombshell. Those same union leaders who are supposed to be negotiating the WNBA's future are also building its replacements. Unrivaled. Project B. 2 professional women's basketball leagues that offer better pay, equity, global opportunities, and are backed by the very people trusted to lead the WNBPA. That's not a side hustle. That's a conflict of interest of massive proportions. You can't claim to protect the WNBA while you're actively engineering its competition, especially when those rival leagues are offering players million-dollar deals in equity while the WNBA's own proposal still caps salaries at under $250,000. This isn't just a paycheck issue, it's philosophical. One group is pushing for performance-based, transparent models, 70% of net revenue after real expenses. The other clings to outdated frameworks like 30% of gross revenue with deductions baked in to limit what players can actually earn. Cunningham's not just saying they're wrong. She's saying they're hypocrites. They're clinging to rigid structures that preserve their power while branding themselves as advocates for progress. And worse, they're doing it while sidelining the players actually growing the league. Look no further than Caitlin Clark. Despite her historic impact, she's been oddly absent from league promotions. Her face isn't front and center in media. Her name isn't leading the narratives. And fans have been wondering why. Cunningham gave the answer. It's calculated. Because for the veteran leaders holding the reins, Clark isn't just a breakout rookie. She's a disruption. A symbol of a new era that doesn't owe its loyalty to the old one. And that scares them. So instead of lifting her up, they're pushing her out of the spotlight, downplaying her success, framing it as undeserved or premature. That's not protectionism. That's power preservation. And it's killing the league's momentum. Fans have caught on. Refunds are up. Sponsors are pulling back. Hashtag Save Our Season is trending because people are tired of the excuses. They see a league at a crossroads, and they see leadership digging in their heels instead of evolving. The truth is, this isn't a salary dispute or a scheduling problem. This is a reckoning, a test of whether the WNBA can become what it needs to be, or if it'll implode trying to protect the status quo. Cunningham's words landed not because they were shocking, but because they were overdue. Everyone felt the tension, the contradictions, the dissonance between what fans saw on the court and what the league chose to highlight. Cunningham just ripped the curtain down, and her accusations aren't abstract. They're grounded in facts. Players actively negotiating the CBA also co-founded rival leagues offering better compensation and independence. That's not strategy. That's a breach of fiduciary duty. It's an ethical failure that breaks the very foundation of trust that collective bargaining relies on. You can't serve two masters, not when one is trying to survive and the other is poised to replace it. This is why the WNBA isn't just facing an operational freeze, it's bleeding credibility. And that's the one thing it can't afford to lose. Because when fans lose faith, they don't just stop watching, they disengage. And they don't come back just because you change your logo or launch a new ad campaign. You have to earn them back. With honesty, with vision, with action. And right now, the action has been silence. Bureaucratic nothingness. A PR vacuum while chaos simmers under the surface. Cunningham didn't start that chaos, but she gave it a voice. She turned the whispers into a reckoning. And now, there's no putting the lid back on. The league is in a free fall unless something changes. Fast. Leadership has to confront the conflict of interest head-on. Union representatives involved in competing leagues need to step down from negotiating positions. Full transparency on affiliations and financial interests must be the bare minimum. And the CBA negotiations need to move toward net-based models that reward actual growth and sustainability, not fuzzy accounting that protects ownership while undercutting the players driving revenue. Most importantly, the WNBA needs to stop being afraid of its own future. Caitlin Clark is the future. So are the other emerging stars being sidelined by outdated hierarchies and silent politics. If the league keeps treating transformative talent as a threat, it will never transform. It'll stagnate. This is the moment. A full reset is needed, not just in contracts, but in values, in transparency, in leadership. Because if the WNBA fails to course correct, it won't just be players leaving. It'll be fans, sponsors, and the very cultural momentum the league worked decades to build. This isn't a game anymore. This is survival. If you've been watching all of this unfold and wondering what's really going on, this is it. This is the crack in the foundation. And now that it's exposed, everyone's watching to see who steps up and who clings to the sinking ship. So now it's your turn. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Should the union leaders step down? Has Caitlin Clark been intentionally sidelined? Is this the moment the WNBA either reinvents or collapses? Like the video if you're done with the politics and want to see the league thrive. Share this with someone who's still catching up on the drama. And hit subscribe for the real story behind the headlines, because we'll be right here as it all plays out. Let's not sugarcoat it. The WNBA is at a breaking point. This isn't just tension behind the scenes. It's a foundational fracture that's been ignored for too long, and Sophie Cunningham just kicked the door wide open. Because at the core of everything, the media silence, the stalled negotiations, the strange freeze-out of Caitlin Clark, is one word no one in leadership seems eager to admit: control. The current union leaders, Nneka Agwamike, Brianna Stewart, Nafisa Collier, aren't just negotiating a contract. They're negotiating the terms of power. And as Cunningham pointed out, they're doing it while holding stakes in rival leagues that directly benefit from the WNBA's dysfunction. It's not theoretical. It's happening. When you're at the table with one hand on the WNBA and the other helping build Unrivaled or Project B, you're no longer an advocate, you're a competitor. And while the WNBA remains bogged down in opaque revenue models and salary caps that don't reflect player value, these new leagues are offering players a real seat at the table. Equity, freedom, millions in compensation. So who do you think players are going to start listening to? That's what makes this crisis so unique. It's not rooted in a lack of money. It's a lack of honesty. It's not about scarcity. It's about misalignment. Leadership says they want to grow the game, but only if they get to dictate how that growth happens and who gets the credit. And when someone like Caitlin Clark arrives and flips the script, the old system doesn't know what to do. Instead of embracing her and restructuring the league around her momentum, they push back. They try to contain her success, diminish it, call a hype. She hasn't earned it yet, but the numbers don't lie. Clark has earned it. She tripled league viewership, re-energized dormant markets, sent merch numbers into the stratosphere, and pulled in fans who never watched a WNBA game in their life. She's not a fluke. She's the future. And the cold reception she's getting from those in power isn't just bitter, it's destructive. Because when you suppress your biggest draw, you don't just hurt her, you hurt the entire league. And fans feel it. They feel the tension. They see the headlines, the absence of movement, the awkward PR silence. They know something's off. And Cunningham gave them language for what they were sensing all along. This isn't growing pains, it's a power play. She made it clear, this isn't about one player being left out of a promo reel. This is a philosophical divide over what kind of league the WNBA wants to be. One side wants modernity, transparent, performance-based revenue sharing tied to actual net growth. A structure where players thrive when the league thrives. Where there's alignment, not competition, between labor and leadership. The other side wants to keep things the way they've always been, capped, controlled, closed off. A system where power stays in familiar hands, even if it means turning away from growth and driving away the new fan base just starting to care. That second philosophy, it's losing steam fast. The players are restless. The fans are furious. The sponsors are hesitant. And the rival leagues? They're ready. They're not waiting. Unrivaled and Project B are already operational, already funding, already building. They're not theory, they're escape plans. So when the very people who are supposed to be guiding the WNBA's future are also laying bricks for its replacements, the message is loud and clear. Some leaders have already given up on the W. Cunningham's podcast didn't introduce new facts, it ripped the blinders off. Fans now know that while they were buying tickets and jerseys and flooding social media in support, some of the league's biggest power brokers were prioritizing side deals and exit strategies. And if leadership thinks that anger is going to die down quietly, they're in for a shock. Because what's at stake isn't just a contract, it's credibility. And that's the one thing you can't fake with a press release. You can't tell fans to trust the process while gutting the process behind closed doors. You can't talk about unity while freezing out the one player who brought unprecedented unity to the fan base. And you can't lead a movement while cashing checks from its rivals. You either believe in the league or you don't. And if you don't, you shouldn't be leading it. The most tragic part? This moment was supposed to be the WNBA's ascension. Everything was lined up. The culture was there. The talent was there. The audience was finally there. And instead of running with it, the league stopped cold. A full-blown moratorium at the height of excitement. No movement, no direction, just silence and shadows while the rest of the sports world moved on. And Cunningham's right. This isn't just poor timing, it's self-sabotage. Freezing operations in the middle of a cultural breakthrough is more than a bad decision. It's a warning sign. That leadership would rather delay everything than admit their model isn't working. That they would rather block the road than let someone new lead the way. And let's be honest, it's not just about Caitlin Clark. She's the lightning rod, yes, but this affects every young player who's come into the league expecting it to evolve. Who sees the success of women's sports in other arenas, college, international, even individual sports, and wonders why the WNBA still feels so limited? Why does it still feel like a fight just to get basic recognition? Why are the players who bring in the most money the ones who get the least support? And why is it that the people calling for change are the ones getting iced out, while the people blocking it are the ones still running the show? Cunningham didn't just voice her own frustration. She voiced what younger players have been thinking and what fans have been saying. This system is broken, and it can't be fixed from within if the same people guarding the gates are also building the exit doors. You want to save this league? Then you need to start with transparency, with removing the people who are negotiating in bad faith, with revenue models that reflect actual growth, not ones designed to hoard power, with promotions that reflect performance, not seniority. You start by listening to fans, to new players, to the market, not just repeating talking points about progress while quietly undermining it. Because here's the brutal truth. Once this trust is lost, you don't get it back with an Instagram story or a highlight reel. You get it back by earning it. Every day, with honest decisions, real leadership, and a commitment to building a league that's ready for what's next, not afraid of it. So if you're watching this saga unfold, you're not crazy for being frustrated. You're seeing the cracks that were there all along, finally exposed. And if this league wants to have a future, it needs to make one thing clear. The WNBA belongs to the players who believe in it, not the ones who are planning their exit while pretending to steer the ship. What makes this all the more infuriating is how avoidable it was. The WNBA wasn't bleeding out from lack of fan support. Quite the opposite. It was entering a cultural boom, something most leagues would kill for. Caitlin Clark didn't just show up with skills. She showed up with proof. Proof that there's an audience. Proof that there's money to be made. Proof that the interest has always been there, waiting for someone to connect the dots between product and promotion. She's the walking answer to every tired excuse about why the WNBA can't grow. And yet, the league's response has been a strategic freeze-out. That's not just petty. That's sabotage. The media blackout around Clark isn't a coincidence. It's not an oversight. Sophie Cunningham said what we've all been thinking. It's deliberate. A calculated attempt by entrenched leadership to downplay a player they didn't create, can't control, and refuse to credit. They see her as a threat, not a gift. And this isn't just some one-off drama about who gets more press clips. This is systemic. Clark's treatment mirrors the broader dysfunction. The union's current leaders, who are also deeply involved in launching rival leagues, have built a system that rewards loyalty to them, not performance. If you fall in line, you get the promo slots. If you speak up or shine too brightly, you're pushed out of the narrative. That's not how you build a league. That's how you run a clique. Meanwhile, fans are watching all of this unfold in real time, and they're not buying the spin. Refunds are flooding in. Sponsors are tapping the brakes. And the league? Still stuck in silence. No answers. No accountability. Just stalling. Let's not forget, we're in a full moratorium. No team moves. No trades. No free agency. No coaching hires. The league isn't just dragging its feet. It's frozen. All during the exact moment fans were finally paying attention. It's like opening night at the box office, and the theater decides to cancel the movie out of nowhere. The excuse? CBA negotiations. The truth? A philosophical war over who gets to shape the league's future and who gets left behind. Cunningham's podcast wasn't just a vent session. It was a signal flare. She laid it all out. The CBA isn't stalled because it's complicated. It's stalled because the people in charge aren't negotiating in good faith. They're playing both sides, locking up the WNBA's future while simultaneously building leagues that offer better deals, more autonomy, and bigger payouts to a select few. This is a hostile takeover wearing union badge. And the structure they're defending? It's outdated, opaque, and built to limit players, not empower them. The WNBA's current proposal still caps teams at $5 million total salary. Individual players can't even touch $250,000 annually. Meanwhile, rival leagues are offering seven-figure contracts, ownership stakes, and international partnerships. You tell me, which future sounds more appealing? What's worse is that the WNBPA leadership continues to push gross revenue share models, demanding a fixed cut of total revenue, while hiding the deductions that mysteriously chip away at payouts. It's a smoke and mirrors approach that keeps players dependent and fans in the dark. Cunningham and her camp want something different: net revenue sharing. A percentage of real, trackable profits after legitimate expenses, not creative accounting. It's transparent. It's scalable. It's fair. But that kind of system threatens the old guard because it removes the mystery. And when players can see the books, they start asking questions. Like, why is the pie so small when the demand is so high? Where is all the money going? Why are rival leagues able to offer twice as much with half the red tape? These aren't fringe concerns. They're fundamental, and they speak to a deeper rot, one that's already started to alienate the very people the league needs to survive. This isn't just about the fans who tuned in for Clark's college heroics and followed her to the pros. It's about the lifelong supporters, the ones who've stood by the W through decades of struggle, finally asking, what are we even fighting for? Because when leadership is compromised, the mission loses its meaning. You can't claim to advocate for women's sports and collective empowerment while ghost building a competitor and shutting out players who disrupt your internal hierarchy. That's not solidarity. That's manipulation. And here's the part that hits hardest. This league could still win. Everything needed for a historic breakout is right there. The talent, the audience, the buzz, the grassroots support, the media interest. The moment is happening. But if the leadership won't adapt, it won't matter. The window will close. And when it does, it won't be because the league didn't have what it took. It'll be because the people in charge refused to let go of control. That's the tragedy of it all. The WNBA isn't being held back by external forces. It's being held back by internal fear. Fear of letting new voices lead. Fear of letting performance dictate power. Fear of becoming something new, something bigger. But change is coming whether they like it or not. Fans are more vocal. Players are more connected. Alternatives are more viable. The illusion of scarcity has been shattered. And now, with Sophie Cunningham breaking the silence, there's no going back. The league has two options: evolve or get left behind. Rebuild with transparency or continue to crumble under secrecy. Choose growth or cling to a shrinking core of control. If you've been following this mess and wondering where it all ends, here's the truth. It ends wherever the WNBA decides it wants to go. If they want relevance, they need reform. If they want longevity, they need accountability. And if they want the support of fans and players alike, they need to earn it. No more silence. No more power games. No more ghosting the players who are actually moving the needle. This league is worth saving, but not at any cost. Not if it means pretending this system is working when it clearly isn't. So drop your thoughts below. Are the union leaders holding the league hostage? Does the WNBA have the guts to clean house? And what would real reform actually look like? Hit like if you're tired of the gatekeeping. Share this with someone who's been asking what the real story is. And subscribe for more breakdowns of the power plays shaping the future of sports. Because trust us, this one's just getting started.